Governs Kwame Agbodza Abeka Insa, where member of parliament for Adaklu constituency, or a ranking member on the Roads and Transport Committee. Yemisan say motorway, Adenti and Yajai Ama motorway bedroom permeswa at Honorable, morning.
Morning to you and morning to your listeners and viewers.
So Chino a yakakra.
And yet that's good, but I'll mix it up.
Yenfa mix it. Honorable, motorway, why is it the way it is?
Well, first of all, the motorway as we see it now was not built initially to do what it's doing. And just like any road, there's a lifespan. I think the motorway has reached a stage where it needs rehabilitation. You'll be surprised to know that despite all that you said about the dangers on it, it still remains one of the best roads in Ghana. Because if you were to even go to part of Accra, as it's coming to rain now, I'm sure some people are either going to lock themselves up in their room because when it rains, the access to their communities will be cut off. So we have a general problem on the road network in our country, and it costs a lot of money to do it, but we must do it. The motorway was originally designed to maybe facilitate movement of goods from the port out of Accra and then to elsewhere. And then the time it was built, as you know, East Legon didn't exist, Tasako didn't exist, all those Spintex Road and the factories on both sides of the road never existed. Surely there was no trotro station along the motorway. Today, we have seen all that happening. So the capacity of the motorway itself has been called into question. I mean, we require interchanges along the motorway so that traffic can flow in and out safely and effectively. All those things are issues that we need to deal with. And indeed, because it's concrete, if it were to be asphalt, normally there's a wearing cost, maybe 50, 70, 100 mil wearing cost that can usually, after a period, whether 10 or 15 years, you can remove the wearing cost and then relay it so that it is smoother. But because it's concrete and the joint you're talking about, the expansion joint, obviously, when you have a large span of concrete, you ought to have expansion joints so that the cracks don't go beyond a certain level. But I must say the motorway has lived quite well. Knowing how long it's been built, it's a reinforced concrete. So when we have spots developing defects, all we need to do is to go back and remedy those sections. Periodically. That is why in every budget there's a portion called routine maintenance and periodic maintenance. That is supposed to be done even on roads that are assumed to be good roads. The problem is if you look at the budget, the expenditure on those things keep falling back all the time. So we do really have an issue. The motorway should have been reconstructed by now. I know those who built the Tema port, the MPS, had a proposal to add the motorway as part of the project at the point in time. It didn't go through. Then the World Bank started trying to fund a study, and then at the point in time, they also backed off. And so we are where we are currently, and we can't say that until we reconstruct the motorway, we can't do anything about it. Or indeed, we can remedy some of the dangerous spots that are on the motorway currently. And I agree with you. One of the things that are quite dangerous on the motorway now, because the speed limit on the motorway is 100 kilometers. So when somebody is on the way, especially, it's also an ECOWAS highway. So assuming somebody is from Nigeria or let's say Cote d'Ivoire on that road, he's not expecting to see trotros coming in and out. But sadly, this morning, if you go, that is what is happening. And the trotro drivers, some of them deliberately just slow down, touting for the passenger. They slow down looking whether somebody will pop out somewhere so that they stop and pick them. Those ones are management issues. The MTTD can deploy along the motorway to find out whether we should maybe have dedicated places that can safely be used for that, or we stop it altogether so that we don't wait, as you are saying, for the worst to happen before we all start shouting. In fact, I've also got data on how many vehicles have been crashing into the abandon toll booths, including this week, because it's not being used. Why? Because when the toll booths were in use, drivers know automatically when you get there, you must slow down to go through the booth and pay your toll. Today, they know there's nobody there. So they go through at speeds which are beyond what they should go. Unfortunately, some of them veer off and crash into the barriers and other things. So we've made the motorway quite a hazardous place to use, and which ought not to be the case. So that is the summary of our situation on the motorway. I feel we could do better in terms of maintaining the motorway, because we keep taking taxes and everything. We, in fact, until recently, when the minister illegally, or the government through propaganda, decided to suspend the collection of tolls on our roads. And I can tell you, we've done the survey. No driver in this country believes that they can use roads without paying tolls. What they always cry for is, show us what you've been doing with the tolls you've been collecting. So if you decide that because you're going to get e-levy, you're not going to take tolls. I mean, even in advanced countries, Britain, America, we still toll roads. What makes Ghana so special that we think that we can do this without this? And now we've actually borrowed money to improve the toll booth. We borrowed money to automate the gate, put CCTV and quite some sophisticated things there. And few months' time, we decided to abandon them. And I can tell you, we are even contracting loans to build roads today. And we are still putting in money to build toll booths till today. So we borrow money to build toll booths, and then we abandon them. So that is the tragedy of our country currently.
So are we saying that we can't do anything much about the motorway, especially seeing that construction initially was done with concrete, and all attempts to fill with asphalt has not worked or yielded any positive results?
Oh, no, it worked. I mean, I remember very well when a portion on the, heading towards Accra caved in quite significantly some time ago. I remember, I think, Ibrahim Mohammed's company and others were stepped in and did something remedial work. I think every road ought to be going through a routine maintenance. So all I'm saying is that the large portion of the motorway is still user friendly. It's still good. So the spots that are bad, we could go there and repair them. And I don't even feel that if we're going to do the motorway again, we should remove the tons of concrete, reinforced concrete. We should just remedy the defective parts and then lay a new wearing course on it, which will last us for some time. No road in this world is meant to last forever. Not even human beings last forever, let alone road. So it is about having a road in such a way that routinely we can do some work to remedy the defective parts. That's all it is. So if the question is, can't we do anything? We can surely do something about it. We can go on that road.
So why are we not doing it?
Well, because I'm not sure whether government has been allocating any significant amount of money for that. Because you see, doing maintenance work on the motorway is different from doing pothole patching. Like you said, it's concrete. Yes, you can have a way of using a certain level of asphalt to remedy small portions, but obviously, in those who did material science will let you know that there's no way you can bond concrete and asphalt together forever, especially when they are just cracks. It's not going to bond forever. So we ought to have a solution that works. And so far, we haven't deployed that. And if I look at the budget, I can tell without a doubt that there isn't enough money allocated for that kind of work on the motorways.
In ending our conversation, let me ask about a general situation of roads in the country. It was supposed to be a year of roads, and yet all we experience from constituencies and communities and assemblies, everybody is crying about their bad roads.
Well, I think the current government knows that all of us enjoy slogan. So one constituency, $1 million. So everybody gets happy. My constituency is going to get $4 million in 4 years. One district, one factory. Everybody feels there's going to be a factory in his backyard employing people. And all sorts of, free education. I don't know how many people send their children to school this morning without, attempting to pay extra classes and other things. I've seen an article from the university saying that some of the products from the SHS are not very good, because when somebody gets aggregate 40 and other things, I mean, what exactly are you going to do? And so the year of road came as the same thing, believing that NAPCO, yes, we are going to employ all the youth. People believed it. Today we are even arguing as to whether they've been the program have been terminated or been novated to another one. And so year of road was one of those things. And I kept saying that the first year of road, what I saw in the budget in terms of real money allocated for road was just about 1 billion Ghana cedi. If you consider the fact that an average kilometer of road to build is about $1.2 million. $1.2 million. So what is 1 billion supposed to do? In the current budget, it's just about 2 billion Ghana cedi. And if you consider the fact that we all contracted over 10 billion Ghana cedi, those are certificates that are in the system. That contractors have worked and have raised certificates and they are due for payment. About 10 billion Ghana cedi. We are not able to pay them. And by the close of today, that 10 billion will go up, because every day new certificates are coming. And the quantum of projects on site on the road sectors we are doing is about 40 billion. Cocoa Road alone have awarded projects over 14 billion Ghana cedis. And then add the rest, Sino Hydro, whatever. So on the books of Ministry of Road and Highways, there's a possible 40 billion cedis worth of project. If you consider that the 2016, the whole appropriation of the 2016 budget was 50 billion, that's just about 50 billion. And we are talking about 40 billion on roads alone. You can imagine the size of problems we have in our country in terms of road. That is why you can't see much action on the road. And to make it worse, whenever we generate money that ought to be used for road, the finance ministry deliberately, because of this obnoxious or backward way of saying something called capping. So we road fund generate 2 billion Ghana cedi, hoping that at least the 2 billion will go into road infrastructure. Then we take about half of that money for consumption. We generate money for education. When you pay your get fund levy and everything, your mind tells you that money goes to fund education. Sadly, a chunk of that money goes to pay Dachi, something an SPV created, upon which they have gone to borrow money. So we generate the money. It's not as if we are not generating any money at all. But the way we apply the money, I agree that we need to generate even more money to be able to fix the road. But even the little we generate is not able to help. The minority actually made a commitment that we feel the road tolls needed to be increased. I mean, we are realistic. Road tolls needed to be increased. Currently, if I use a Land Cruiser and I cross the motorway, I pay 1 cedi. I don't think anybody will cry for me, even if I'm asked to pay 4 cedi. Because when you drive Land Cruiser, it means you are slightly well to do. Then maybe we can look at how Uber and taxi, we can cushion them. But sadly, what we saw was a populist action. Oh, let's cancel the road toll. The road toll was getting us about 80 million Ghana cedi a year. We feel we can augment that to be at least 200, 300 million Ghana cedi. But guess what? Even that 80 million is gone to the wind. Do you not believe that if that 80 million Ghana cedi was available, we can even say that use 20 million to fix the defective part of the motorway permanently? That would have been a solution. But we are where we are.
Quickly, before we end the conversation, yesterday we were having a conversation about this motorway issue, and my colleague in the studio raised a matter of how some $570 million had been promised or allocated for this whole motorway we are talking about. I think the project was supposed to start in December of last year. That 570 million, was it really utilized, or has it even been allocated in the first place?
Well, first of all, as far as we in the minority are concerned, there's no project called $570 million for Accra Tema motorway. There was an attempt to use a PPP process to reconstruct the motorway. Somewhere in 2020, the government itself canceled that process because all the bidders were not responsive enough. Sadly, the government clandestinely went into a sole source agreement with a company called Motor Angels, a foreign company. And that company is no longer required to bring the money. That company is basically in the country as a contractor, requesting government to go and borrow $570 million and give to them to do the project. You and I will know that that is, in the first place, that is in breach of Article 1815 of the Constitution, which requires that if government enters into any economic venture with any foreign entity, that agreement must come to Parliament. That didn't come to Parliament. The part of that contract says that if after 3 months the parties are not able to come to terms and start the work, that contract would have been deemed null and void. That contract was signed in 2016, by 16 December 2020. We are in June, almost in June now, and that contract hasn't been activated because what? Government is expecting Ghana Infrastructure Fund to go and look for money and then give to Muta Angel to come and do that project. I looked at that contract, and that contract, a portion of the contract during negotiation says that the contract price as envisaged by the engineers at the Ministry of Road and Highways, which I believe are truthful, has been inflated by 39%. How on earth can somebody say that a price quoted by a sole source contractor is up and above 39%, yet the government went ahead to sign the contract for the same price? That can only mean that somebody is looking for a personal interest. So as far as the NDC is concerned, we don't recognize that there's a valid contract between government of Ghana and anybody to build Tema motorway. That contract is a fraudulent contract, and we will not accept it. So we need to find another way of coming back to find the money to build the Tema motorway. As far as we are concerned, that $570 million contract with Muta Angels is illegal. It is 39% inflated according to pages of that same contract. How on earth can a patriotic human being, Ghanaian, sign a contract like that? Unless there's personal interest.
Honorable, thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
Member of Parliament for Adaklu constituency, joining us today on the show.